Disney's Hollywood Studios takes guests on a journey into the movies with what many regard as the greatest lineup of theme park rides of all time, from a colourful Toy Story Land to Star Wars adventures and Broadway caliber shows, can almost be forgiven for its eye-watering wait times. Hi, I'm the Frugal Brit, and for this video I'll be taking you on a tour through all of the rides and attractions that Disney's Hollywood Studios has to offer, as well as sprinkling in some of my best tips and finishing off in Galaxy's Edge. Disney's Hollywood Studios first opened way back in 1989 and themed around the golden age of Hollywood. Today, the park is more about taking guests into the movies rather than behind the scenes, and is divided into 7 themed areas. We'll begin our attraction tour at Hollywood Boulevard near the park entrance, which sends guests through the palm-lined Hollywood Boulevard with streetscape facades inspired by Hollywood's golden age. At the far end of Hollywood Boulevard stands an exact replica of Grauman's Chinese Theatre, which houses the first attraction in this tour, which is Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway Trackless Dark Ride. You're invited to watch the premiere of a new Mickey Mouse cartoon, which will shortly enter inside for a wild adventure cruising through vivid, three-dimensional scenes as Mickey and Minnie attempt to save the day. Given the location near the entrance and the popularity of this great family-friendly ride, expect long queues throughout the day, so I'd consider making this the first queue that you enter, provided you can get here for rope drop. However, best time to visit is from 5 PM. For our second Hollywood Studios land, we're headed north of our map for Sunset Boulevard, which is an idealised 1930s and 40s version of the glamorous thoroughfare of the same name in Los Angeles. Our first attraction on the right-hand side is the Theatre of the Stars, which hosts the Beauty and the Beast live on stage show, which is a Cliff Notes version of the movie and its fantastic soundtrack. During peak times, I'd recommend arriving around 20 minutes before the show starts to get one of the better seats, but to be honest, all seats are fine. At the far end of Sunset Boulevard looms the imposing Hollywood Tower Hotel, the park's main icon, which houses the Twilight Zone Tower of Terror, a sci-fi themed indoor thrill ride. Guests enter the deserted hotel grounds and into a dusty lobby frozen in time and covered in cobwebs. After the pre-show, you'll board the elevator for a trip into the 5th dimension with several stomach-churning drops and views of the park from the top of the tower. This is a super popular attraction, and justifiably so consider rope dropping or making it one of your first Genie Plus picks. Good news is that both elevators are now back in operation again, so wait times are a lot better these days. Around the corner from Tower of Terror is the Rock and Roller Coaster starring Aerosmith, which is an indoor darkened roller coaster themed to the music of Aerosmith. As guests enter the building, you're led through to Aerosmith's recording studio before being invited to their evening show. After boarding the limos, the countdown begins before tires screech and music blares, going from 0 to 60 miles per hour in less than 3 seconds through the freeways of LA. This ride does generate crowds later in the day, but there are good windows of reasonable waits first thing in the morning or after 5. Located in the remote corner of Sunset Boulevard, adjacent to Rock and Roller Coaster, inside the Sunset Showcase Theatre, based on the Cars franchise, is the Lightning McQueen Racing Academy show, where Mr. McQueen takes centre stage as a full-size animatronic, later interrupted by his rival Chick Hicks, who hacks into McQueen's simulator. Behind the Tower of Terror, you'll find the ginormous Hollywood Hills Amphitheatre, home of Fantasmic, a nighttime spectacular show featuring Mickey Mouse in his role as the Sorcerer's Apprentice from Fantasia. Easily one of Disney World's best shows that you won't want to miss. Despite its 10,000 capacity, it will often fill up, so arrive at least 30 minutes early. If we head back to the centre of the park, we have the animation courtyard attached to the centre stage. This contains some minor attractions, including the Disney Junior Dance Party, the Star Wars launch bay containing Star Wars movie models, props and character greetings. Whilst technically not within the courtyard, you have the Walt Disney Presents walkthrough exhibit, which explores the life and legacy of Mr. Walt Disney through photos, models, artefacts, followed by a short biographical film narrated by Julie Andrews. For the third land in this tour, we're headed for Toy Story Land, which is an 11-acre land themed to Andy's backyard from the Pixar series. This area is of course designed for Disney's younger guests, who are shrunk down to the size of a toy as they're summoned by oversized toys that Andy has assembled using his vivid imagination. We'll start the ride tour with Toy Story Mania, an interactive 4D attraction inspired by classic carnival games. After travelling through its playful queue, you'll don a pair of 3D glasses before boarding the spinning vehicles that travel through virtual environments based on classic Midway games. Players rack up points when hitting their targets, with harder to hit targets earning high scores, which are tallied up at the end to determine the winner. In between Toy Story Mania and the Woody's Lunchbox quick service restaurant is the pathway for the headliner Slinky Dog Dash roller coaster. The backstory is that Andy has built a coaster using his Dash and Dodge Mega Coaster kit and decided to use Slinky Dog as the ride vehicle. Riders travel through various hills around Andy's lawn, eventually slowing down at a block tunnel where a countdown begins before riders are launched through a series of go rings, followed by more hills and turns before hitting the final brake run, accompanied by a wheezy animatronic singing "You've Got a Friend in Me." Because of its appeal to guests of nearly all ages and its painfully low capacity, it generates ginormous queues all day, so this should probably be your number 1 or 2 Genie Plus priority. Alternatively, you'll want to jump in the standby line during early theme park entry, or even better, just jump on in the early evening. To finish our Toy Story Land ride guide, we'll end with the spinning teacup ride located near the walkway over to Galaxy's Edge, known as Alien Swirling Saucers. Guests climb aboard their toy rockets before being whipped around outer space in vehicles driven by Buzz's little green aliens. We're now going to head over to the opposite side of the central hub, past the Grauman's Theatre, arriving at the Echo Lakeland, based on the similarly named neighbourhood in Los Angeles and designed to mimic the suburban architecture from vintage Hollywood, which surrounds its small oval-shaped lagoon. We'll start with the Hyperion Theatre, which since 2015 houses the For the First Time in Forever, a Frozen sing-along celebration where the humorous royal historians of Arendelle recount the frosty story of their enchanted kingdom before a sing-along involving Anna, Elsa and Kristoff. Over towards Echo Lake's namesake lake and opposite the Gertie dinosaur is the movie stunt demonstration and action show inside a 2,000-seat theatre, which is the Indiana Jones Epic Stunt Spectacular. This show reenacts various scenes from Steven Spielberg's Raiders of the Lost Ark, from the dangers of the Peruvian temple scene to the busy streets of Cairo, and ending with Indy's narrow escape from an airfield engulfed in flames. This is a popular show which will often reach capacity, but you can usually get in for the first showing 5 minutes before it starts. Otherwise, I'd give yourself 20 minutes or so. Also, to avoid crowds on your way out, it's best to sit over on the right-hand side. A short walk from Indiana Jones on the way towards the backlot section of Echo Lake is the Mickey Shorts Theatre, which currently features the 10-minute Vacation Fun cartoon, which features clips from Mickey Mouse cartoons in the same style from the Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway. For our final Echo Lake attraction, we'll head past the Backlot Express for the Star Tours 3D motion simulator ride. This ride's impressive exterior represents an Ewok village on the forest moon of Endor, with a giant AT-AT walker greeting guests. Inside the spaceport, guests walk past audio animatronic C-3PO and R2-D2 droids. After boarding, guests experience a turbulent trip across the galaxy piloted by the reluctant C-3PO with 50 combinations of randomized scenes from Episode 1 to Episode 9. One of my favourites, partly due to nostalgia, but also due to its high turnover of guests, which means wait times remain very low. With all Echo Lake attractions done, we'll take the short walk from Star Tours over to the Grand Avenue, based on contemporary Los Angeles, originally planned as a themed area called Muppet Studios. Grand Avenue's sole attraction is the Muppet Vision 3D show inside the replica Muppet Theatre from the famous TV series. When entering the theatre, there's a 12-minute pre-show on overhead monitors, which is worth arriving early for. The main show incorporates 3D film with 4D effects, such as water spraying at the audience, floating bubbles, and live performances. Now for the final land of Disney's Hollywood Studios, we have the Star Wars Galaxy's Edge, located in the southwest corner of the park, encompassing 14 acres with 2 entrances. The main entrance is from Grand Avenue, through a Figueroa Street themed tunnel. As the landscape and ambience begins to change, you'll find yourself in the Black Spire outpost on the remote frontier of planet Batuu. This once thriving settlement is now home to smugglers, rogue traders, droids, and other strange creatures hoping to avoid the evil First Order. For the first ride, we're headed all the way to the far corner of Galaxy's Edge for the flying simulator attraction, Millennium Falcon Smuggler's Run. Guests approaching the attraction will see a life-size Millennium Falcon parked outside the spaceport beneath the planet's cliffs. The queue begins outside, wrapping around behind the Falcon, and continues through an engine room before making your way over to the command center. Guests will then begin their experience by loading into the cockpit of the Millennium Falcon. Your mission is to steal precious cargo from the First Order TIE fighters to sell on the black market. For the shortest wait for this attraction, I recommend using the single rider line if you can. Our final ride in this tour of Disney's Hollywood Studios is the combined trackless dark ride walkthrough simulator, Star Wars Rise of the Resistance. Guests will take on the role of new Resistance recruits and enter the queue through a turret path into ancient caves that house a Resistance control center before receiving their mission instructions from BB-8 on hologram of Rey. Guests are intercepted minutes into their mission and taken prisoner into the Star Destroyer. With the help of some famous Resistance friends, you'll take part in an elaborate escape against the furious Kylo Ren, who fails to prevent your return back to Batuu. Rise of the Resistance is possibly the most sought-after theme park attraction of all time, and generates crazy wait times not helped by the number of technical difficulties it encounters due to its complex animatronics, etc. The best strategy is to arrive at the park before early theme park entry and get over to Rise as soon as possible. You can also pay for individual lightning lane selections, which will very often sell out unless you have the on-site advantage. If you are limited to day guest hours, then I would recommend jumping in the queue around 11 AM after the initial rush of early morning guests subsides. But if you're visiting in the afternoon, then jumping in the queue within the last 10 minutes before closure will be your best bet. With all that said though, as far as queues go, it's one of the best, really immersive, and builds the anticipation for what many will agree is Disney's most impressive attraction of all time. That's it for this video. Thank you for watching. Be sure to subscribe if you're interested in future ride guides. I recommend these two videos next.